Hello, everybody. This is Hua, welcoming you to my YouTube Telling Story channel. I am so happy to have you here today with me. I hope that you enjoy The Simple Life with Anna and Jedediah. Today's story is a fictional story that I created together in dedication to Sheng and Ge, and it's titled Once My Adversary. And this came as a suggestion, as an idea, requesting from the listeners to write up a fictional story about a modern day couple who were once enemies turning into lovers. So this is chapter 1, and I invite you to sit back, relax, and enjoy.
Do you see how I effortlessly get it right? 그리 다른다고 다 되는 것도 아니야. You could try it all you want and waste your time. You look ahead, a million people in the line, but I'm one step away until the day I will be gone. Baby, you're a shooting star or a rising star. Name yourself in a galaxy. Don't let the others fool your mind. 붙잡아야 할 건 only your tenacity.
Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, take a look at the man before you. He is responsible for the murder of the many innocent lives you have heard across the nation. The world had been looking for him, waiting to put him behind bars. Today, you have done a great deed in helping make it possible. Take a very good look at this man today, and remember that this moment you played a very important role in locking someone as evil as Tai Yang behind bars. The courtroom became quiet as the DA sat down, and Judge Christopher Lee looked up from where he sat. His white hair was combed over and his glasses covered half his face. "We'll break for recess and return in session when the jury has reached a verdict," Christopher said. He stood, and the bailiff stepped forward. "All rise." Everyone stood as he walked out to his chambers, and he allowed a deep breath. He was tired, and he had missed his granddaughter's birthday. She would be throwing a fit. Just as he suspected, Sheng Li was sitting in his chamber with her father, Cheng. The girl had turned 8 years old, and she had grown taller than he'd last seen her last week. "Grandpa!" she cried. "You missed my birthday!" He made a face and let out a heavy breath. "I'm so sorry, little darling. I had to work." She pouted. "I hate it when you have to go to work. I want you to be with me always." Cheng, his one and only son, came forward. "Stop pouting, Sheng. You know your grandfather loves you no matter what." "How was court?" Christopher sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "You and I both know how this will affect the entire city. So many will have a say in this and how it will go. I don't even know what to expect of the outcome." Sheng smiled. "You know what to do, and you will do it well." He turned to Sheng. "Come on, give your grandfather a hug and let's go. He's got to return to work. He'll be home later." She pouted again, but she gave him a hug. "See you later, Grandpa." As the two left, he decided to take a light lunch before the jury came back with a verdict. "Have you reached a verdict?" Christopher asked. "We have, Your Honor." "And how do you find the defendant?" Christopher turned to look at Tai Yang sitting on the table, dressed in an Armani suit with a sly grin on his face. The most powerful warlord wasn't even afraid of what the future held for him. With millions of dollars and an entire army behind him, he was looking forward to rest, as he had called it when interviewed by the news station. "We, the jury, find the defendant guilty." The entire courtroom went up in shouts, and Christopher slammed his gavel down. "Quiet!" Everyone sat down. "Mr. Tai Yang, you are sentenced to life without the possibility of parole. Bailiff, take the defendant away. Thank you for your service, jury. Court is adjourned." "Sir, we have to return home. The Lord has given orders on where you will be living." G turned to find Edward, his bodyguard, walking toward him. It was hours after his father's sentencing, and he felt a deep anger inside him. He took the glass of water on the desk and threw it across the room. It broke into pieces, and he stood up. "I will never forgive that judge. As long as I live, he will be my enemy." 20 years later. The drilling outside woke Sheng up from her deep sleep, and she swore, reaching over to look at her watch. It was 6 in the morning on a Saturday. She threw her legs over the bed, rushed to the window, and opened it. The construction crews were outside busy fixing the sidewalk as the morning sun was just breaking in New York City. "Hey!" she cried. One of the construction workers looked up at her and removed his protection glasses. "It's 6 in the goddamn morning, guys. Give me a frickin' break." He blew her a kiss and replied, "Go on a date with me, baby, and I'll quit bothering you." She gave him the finger. "In your dreams?" She slammed the window shut as the drilling continued. Groaning, she dragged her exhausted self to bed and put a pillow over her head. "You look like crap." "Geez, did you, stay up late with a hot secret lover or something?" Her best friend, Sheng asked. The cafe was busy, much crazier than on a weekend than expected. The line had been long, and they had just sat down when the crowd began to double in numbers. "Geez, I wish. If I looked this way because some hot lover was banging me, I'd be happy," Sheng said as she rubbed her face. "No, I'm tired because I barely got any sleep. My grandpa was in the hospital and I was with him. He's doing better, but he's not completely out of the woods just yet." Sheng took a drink of her coffee. "Oh, I'm sorry to hear that." "Yeah, me too," she replied as she yawned. "And then, of course, there's this construction outside my apartment, so there's so much noise I can't even sleep." "You want to stay in my cabin? I mean, it's getting too cold and no one is booking it for stay. You can just camp there for a few days and catch up on sleep. No one will bother you." "I guess I can do that. But your cabin is so far out of the way from my work." Sheng smiled and shrugged. "You can't have everything, baby. Come on, those bags underneath your eyes are scaring the lovers away. You need to take care of yourself." Sheng ran a hand through her hair and nodded. "Okay. I'll go let my grandpa know about it, and maybe I'll head over there tomorrow." The room her grandpa slept in was the last one on the east wing. He had been having some difficulty breathing, and she had brought him in when he fainted. Her father was currently away on a business trip overseas, and she was left to take care of him. Through the years, the judge had taken the court seat less and less. When he finally retired last year, she had been glad since he needed to rest. But retired, he still gave advice on cases. Sheng had wondered if he truly understood the word retired at all. When she opened the door and pushed in, her grandpa was sleeping with a pen still in his hand. Shaking her head in disbelief, she walked to remove it from him and pull the blanket up around his shoulders. Her phone rang, and she pulled it out, seeing that it was her father calling. Her mother had left her at a young age, and she'd never known the woman, but the only two people who showed her about love was her grandpa and her father. "Hi, Dad," she said as she settled into a chair. "Hey, darling, how's your grandpa?" She laughed. "He's still writing notes until exhaustion takes over." "Gosh, the old geezer just doesn't know when to stop, does he? I'll be home next week. How are you holding up?" "I'm fine, Dad. How are things going over there?" "It's fine. I'll see you soon. I gotta go." The call ended, and she turned toward her grandpa, who was beginning to stir. Reaching over, she took his hand as he fully woke and saw her. He groaned and rubbed his face. "You're here to yell at me." Sheng let out a breath and shook her head. "Grandpa, do you know how to rest? I mean, look at you. You're in the hospital, for crying out loud. Can you just rest?" He made a sound and shook his head. "I can rest when I'm dead." "Yeah? Well, you're getting close to it if you don't take care of yourself." She laughed and leaned over to kiss his forehead. "I'm so worried about you. You know, I spend more time thinking about you than any other man." "As you should," Christopher said with a grin. "I should be the only man on your mind." After spending time with her grandpa, Sheng drove back to her apartment and was ready to call it a night. It had been a long day, and she barely did anything. Lately, she found that her time was spent on avoiding a lot of things in her life. For one, her breakup with Adam wasn't pretty, and the man had been cornering her everywhere she went, even if it was his fault for them going their separate ways. He had been unfaithful, and he had been stealing money from her. It was a bad combination, and when she found out, she'd already lost so much. Her father had threatened to put Adam behind bars, but she'd begged him not to. It had been 2 weeks since his last call and run-in with him. She could only hope that he understood the message from her that it was over. It was then that she heard the sound of something drop from the corner of her living room. She turned, and out emerged Adam, dressed all in black. Fear settled into her heart as she stepped backwards, feeling the rush of something ugly forming in her chest. "What are you doing here?" Sheng asked. His eyes looked bloodshot red, and he staggered forward, clearly drunk. She backed up and saw that her phone was nowhere near her. Adam shook his head and brought a finger up to his lips. "Don't worry," he whispered. "I'm not here to hurt you. I just want to talk, and you haven't given me time." "Time?" she asked, appalled. "Adam, get out of here before I call the cops." He shut his eyes, hurt, as he shook his head. "Why can't you forgive me?" "I said I was sorry." He looked up at her with sad eyes. "Sheng, I'm so sorry. I was wrong." "Adam, we already had this conversation, okay? It doesn't matter if you're sorry. It's over. Get out of here now. If you even touch me, my grandpa will make sure you never see the light of day." Adam shook his head. "Everything you say is always about your grandpa. He fights for everything you can't. Every time someone hurts you, you run off to him, scared. Honestly, it's disgusting." "Oh, and cheating on your girlfriend isn't?" "Adam, get out of here." He moved forward and grabbed her wrist, pulling her against the wall, his breath on her face. The fear heightened, and she tried to push him off, but he was stronger, and he put his entire weight against her. "You're just playing hard to get, Sheng. You know you still love me. A mistake like what I did, and you cut me out of your life completely. How childish of you." As he leaned down to kiss her, she kicked his shin, and he yelped. She shoved her elbow down on his back and ran toward the door. He reached her in 3 strides and yanked her hair back. She pulled the vase on the side of the shelf and smashed it into his head. Pulling the door open, she ran down the hall, screaming. "Are you sure you're okay?" her father asked over the phone as she sat in the police station. Her hands were still shaking, but she was safe. She wiped her eyes and let out a deep breath. "I'm okay, Dad. Don't worry. Just take care of your business and return home when you can. I'll be fine. I promise you." She hung up the phone and let out a deep breath. Adam had gotten away, and the cops couldn't find him. But she was safe, at least for now. She was beginning to think about going to Yang Yang's cabin sooner than later. What the hell was Adam thinking? The man had been the one to cheat, and now he was after her just because she wouldn't take him back. She sure knew how to pick them, as her grandfather would say. What an ugly mess she was in. Memories. They haunted you even after so long because memories were a part of your lifeline. For G, it was never an easy route when he thought of memories. His father had been imprisoned when he was young, and after 2 years serving his sentence, someone killed him in his sleep. For years, G felt the deep anger slowly killing every good part of him. He'd grown up with Edward, and when he was 19, he took the company his father had owned and turned it into an agency to protect people instead. It had gone well, and he made his first million at age 22. Now, his agency was well known worldwide. Although he was well off, he never stopped thinking about the one person who put his father away. Christopher Lee, the judge who was responsible for handing out the sentence. It had to be life in prison without parole. G had grown up with a deep hate for the man. He would one day make his revenge complete, as he'd been silently following the man's career, and he knew he had a granddaughter and son who were his finest creations on earth. If you wanted to hurt someone, you struck where he was weak. That was what his father taught him in all the years he was a mob warlord. G had reshaped himself not only in life but also in looks. He'd kept his hair short, clean-shaven, and fit. He wore mostly black, and he never once walked anywhere without any of his hidden bodyguards. He'd kept himself hidden from his father's background, so no one knew he was the son of Tai Yang. "Sir, here are the recent transactions that came into the accounts," Edward said as he brought the folder to him. G took it and looked through and then nodded. "Sir, there is a request for a new client. Her name on the application is Sheng Li." This made G perk his head up, and then he turned and took the application that Edward held. It was a request through the online portal for a bodyguard. The name was familiar, and as he read it, the very bottom was what he thought. Granddaughter of Judge Christopher Lee. He smiled and turned to Edward. The universe has finally gifted me my reward after being patient for so long. G couldn't believe she'd walked right into his lap. Out of all days, it was today that his enemy's granddaughter came to him. For years he'd wondered what he'd do when he met one of them again, and the opportunity now came to him. Here she was, needing a bodyguard. And who did she choose? Him. She walked into the room wearing a black business suit, hair to her chin, and looking very much like the judge. He had to hold on to his breath from wanting to break her apart. "Are you Ji Yang?" she asked as Edward guided her to a chair. "I am." "Miss Sheng, is it?" he asked, taking out her application. "That's right. My grandfather tells me you're the best, and I work with no one but the best." He raised an eyebrow. "Is that right? You do know the best also costs the most." Smiling, she said, "Don't worry about that. Whatever price you request, I can afford it. Otherwise, I wouldn't be here." She was quite cocky, a trait he hated. He leaned forward and asked, "What can I do for you?" "I need protection. I have..." She thought a moment, and then she continued, "I've made a bad choice in a lover. He won't leave me alone. He attacked me in my apartment a few days ago. He hasn't been found, and until he is, I need someone to keep tabs on his whereabouts and stay near me in case he decides to show up again. The police have been informed, but they're short-staffed, so they can only do so much." G wanted to laugh. Too bad the man didn't complete his job. He cleared his throat and asked, "What are your conditions?" "I have a very high demanding job. I am on the go most of the time, so I need someone around me always, and to probably camp out at my house." "A 24-hour bodyguard?" G asked. Nodding, she replied, "Yes. It doesn't matter the cost. You just send me your best man tomorrow to this address." She pulled the card out of her purse and pushed it toward him. She stood up and put down a plastic card on the table. "There's enough payment on this card for use. Pay your man and keep the rest as tip." She turned and walked out as G made a face. What a waste of a good-looking woman, he thought. "You got a bodyguard?" Yingya asked as she helped Sheng put the rest of her suitcases into her cabin. The cabin was a nice, quiet two-bedroom far out in the north near the lake. She hadn't been fond of actually moving out here as soon as this, but after discussing with her grandfather, he suggested that she do so. She'd gone to the agency he recommended and hired a bodyguard who was going to arrive today. Adam hadn't been found, and she was on edge. Every time she went anywhere, she kept having to look over her shoulder. Fear wasn't a good feeling to have when you were a woman and had to look over your shoulder constantly. "I did. Grandpa suggested I did, and I went to hire one. It wasn't cheap, but I need someone here. You didn't see Adam's face, Yingya. He looked like he could murder me. It was the scariest thing I'd ever encountered." She dropped the box of books on the floor and turned around, tucking a strand behind her ear. She let out a deep breath and shook her head. "Why do I keep getting all these terrible men in my life? Where's the winner?" A car pulled up, and they both turned to look out. A tall, handsome-dressed man in a three-piece black suit came out with shades. Yangya's mouth dropped open, and she hurried to the window and stared. "That looks like a winner to me," she said. "That must be the bodyguard," Sheng explained. Shocked, Yingya asked, "That's the bodyguard?" "Sheng, that's crazy. He's too hot to be your bodyguard. He looks like someone you bring home to your grandpa and dad as a man." Sheng made a face and walked to open the door as Ji came in. He removed the shades and gave her a dark glare. "Where's the bodyguard?" Sheng asked. "I'm it." "You sent yourself?" He smirked. "You asked for the best, didn't you?" She remained silent, and then he looked at Yingya. "And you are?" Yingya smiled, nearly breathless. "I'm Yingya, her friend, her single friend, and this is my cabin." He ignored her, and then he turned to Sheng. "I need to set up cameras. Go about your day." And then he was gone, and Sheng turned around to find Yingya fanning herself. It wasn't until evening, when Yingya had finally left, that Sheng remembered about Ji. She changed into a plain t-shirt and jeans, her hair freshly washed, and she slipped on her pink slippers. She wondered where he'd gone to and if he'd had dinner. She saw him slip in and out of the property, but hadn't talked to him since he arrived. As she made her way to the backyard, she heard a sound and she jumped. She began backing up, and suddenly she was grabbed around the waist and slammed against the wall, and G was against her with a gun to her chin. The scream died on her lips as he lowered himself to her and gazed at her with his dark eyes. "What are you doing?" she asked. "Sneaking around like this would get you killed, Miss Sheng," he replied. He removed the gun and released her. "I've set up cameras everywhere on the land and place. Don't go wandering where you don't need to be." She cleared her throat. "Thank you. I'm sorry, I didn't know the rules. Let's go inside. I'll discuss everything with you." He gestured for her to take lead, and she went ahead. Once inside, she settled on the couch and he removed the jacket, hanging it over a chair. And then he sat down from across her and looked up at her with his dark eyes. "You don't go anywhere without me. I need to know everything about you down to the food you hate and allergies. Your friends? I need to know who is who, and pictures will help me recognize who I should allow to come close to you, and who I should keep away. I need a photo of Adam, and I need to know everything about you and him." Sheng gave a nervous smile. "That's a lot of details. You want protection? Then that's how it will be. Nothing gets past me." Nodding, she replied, "Fine. I would do that for you. I also need to sleep next door to you." And then he gave her a whistle. "This is your emergency whistle. When you need me, blow on it and I'll be right there. I have 2 men who are stationed half a mile from here that will always be with me whenever we go out." "You are the best," she said. "Trust me. With me here, nobody will be bothering you." G turned the camera CCTV on in his room, and the black and white videos came to life. He planted enough cameras around the place, and he had access to everything of hers. He smiled, feeling content with the plan he'd put into place. He would be torturing this little granddaughter, and no one would know. He would be the one who would drain her money dry, and because he was a bodyguard, no one would ever suspect him. He could do as he pleased. He watched the screen before him and saw her enter the room. He was about to manipulate her against everyone she knew, and he would enjoy every single second of it. His heart was racing as he thought back to the childhood he grew up without his father. Pain still struck the deepest core of him, and he let out a breath. "Patience, G. Patience. You're almost there." The sounds of his foot against the pavement and morning chorus of birds were his music as G raced against the wind on the blacktop. His lungs were nearing bursting, and he felt his arms ache for the first time. He was pushing himself, he knew it, but he had too much energy to burn. He needed to let it out, or else he'd give away his position to her. When he ran the block the 3rd time, he finally rounded the bend and came toward the cabin in view. She was outside, sitting on a chair in a jacket and hat with a book and a cup of coffee. "Good morning," she said with a smile. "You run?" "It clears my head," he said. "Let me shower, and I'll run over today's agenda with you." He left her and walked inside to shower, letting the water refresh him. When he finished, he dressed all in black and grabbed a jacket and headed out to where she was still sitting in the same spot. He had a clipboard and a recorder in hand. He set it down as she looked at him with questions in her eyes. "What is this?" Sheng asked. "I'm recording our conversation so I have a better idea, and also so I can remember. I want you to start off with how you met Adam and how your relationship was." She looked almost uncomfortable, but she cleared her throat and began. "I met him a year ago. He was at this fundraiser that my company was hosting. Our friend introduced us, and we went on a few dates before we got serious." "What is he like? Education? Job?" She let out a breath. "He's got a master's in leadership, and he works at Walter's ad agency, unless he's quit there, but that's the last employment place I know for him." G looked over at her and then asked, "Relationship? How often did he stay over?" "Is that necessary?" she asked. He raised an eyebrow. "Are you doubting me?" "No, but how is that relevant?" "Because, Miss Sheng, the closer he is to you in the past, the more right he thinks he has to be in your life." Nodding, she replied, "You're right. He was over a lot, almost like we were living together." And then she leaned forward. "I never thought he would do something as stupid as that." He cheated on me with his secretary on a business trip. They were gone together for a week and a half, and when he returned, he changed, and I found him with her in his office late one night. He claimed it was only once, but I knew better. I'm sorry, G said. If a man hurts me, he only does it once. He will never hurt me again. But for Adam, he won't give up. The problem is that I trusted him deeply, so he knew a lot about me and the people I hung around with. She fought her hands together, and then she looked up at him. I'm not like this. I'm not always this messed up. My grandpa always had faith in me. Has your grandpa met Adam? Nodding, she replied. They often played golf together. But my grandpa is in the hospital, and Adam hasn't been around him since. But my grandpa liked him. It would break his heart if he found out that Adam treated me like this. G smiled and stopped the recording. We can stop here today. Are you going to go to work later? Shaking her head, she replied, No. I brought most of my work here, so unless a client calls me, I won't be going in at all. This is my hideout. He smiled. Perfect. Thank you for tuning in. Chapter 2 will be released shortly.
Do you see how I effortlessly get it right? 그리 다른다고 다 되는 것도 아니야. You could try it all you want and waste your time. You look ahead, a million people in the line, but I'm one step away until the day I will be gone. Baby, you're a shooting star or a rising star. Name yourself in a galaxy. Don't let the others fool your mind. 붙잡아야 할 건 only your tenacity. Gotta get it right, gotta get it right. Name yourself in a galaxy. Gotta get it right, gotta get it right. It's the only necessity. They say you gotta win it, step over them, go get 'em. They say you gotta win it, step over them. You think that's right?
It's all about the mindset. Just focus on yourself. It's all about the mindset.
Keep moving on. I'm one step away until the day I will be gone. Baby, you're a shooting star or a rising star. Name yourself in a galaxy. Don't let the others fool your mind. 붙잡아야 할 건 only your tenacity. Gotta get it right, gotta get it right. Name yourself in a galaxy. Gotta get it right, gotta get it right. It's the only necessity. Infinite loop of fall and rise. We fall and rise again and again, again, then again. 반짝이는 수많은 stars. Yeah, yeah. Baby, you're a shooting star or a rising star. Name yourself.